We are live. Hello, everyone. This is Patrick, Self Improvement Foundation Coach. I am very pleased that you're joining me today in this live. Today's live of You're Not Broken is about how to feel good enough today. I am going to cover a lot in regards to this topic. So let me fill you in. Before I get started, I want you to know that yes, I am having trouble with some contractors that are right above me, causing a lot of noise. It's really, really annoying. You might hear voices you don't recognize. You might hear um, machinery, being played at. But you know what? I decided to just show up anyway. I think that this is a good opportunity for me to, again, defeat perfectionism. Often, we have a plan that we think it's perfect, and then something like this happens, and you just have to adapt. Like the show must go on, right? The last thing you want to do is to stop yourself to be you the reason you didn't do something instead of external forces. I hate that you have to put up with this, but I really put together really nice presentation. I want to keep showing up the way that I do, and this is what success comes down to, in my opinion. We're going to talk about that a lot in this live stream. It's not about how much you accomplish or how much you do. It's about showing up when it matters. So to me, this moment matters, and I want to be with you no matter what. With that said, let's talk about how to feel good enough today. So this presentation will be divided in various sections. Some of you that you recognize, there will be new stuff as well. So I'm very excited to share this with you. Before I forget, I want to make sure that close to the end, I will mention my new project that I just started. So I joined a former friend and former client and current, really good friend, Dr. Debbie Badawi, in a very ambitious project called Evolve Global 22. And I will tell you a little bit about it at the end. We're going to do a live stream together with Dr. Badawi, and she developed something called the Power of Three, um, which is like a mass integration of alternative medicine that includes uh, Ayurveda medicine, healing, and herbal medicine. I hope I got it all right the way I said it. So she's a brilliant. Um, she has a lot of like stories and lessons, to share. And she, just like me, she wants to make a major impact in the world. And like I said, I will talk about more Evolve Global 22 at the end of the live stream. But for now, let's focus on our main theme, which is you can be good enough today. So the first section will be a small presentation where I will share some stories and lessons that help you, embrace this idea of being good enough today. It's a lot more than a mindset. Is I love giving tools that can actually help you turn an idea or a mindset into a permanent shift. Hopefully, this will inspire you enough, will help you transform and see yourself and the world around you differently. That's the goal all the time. So I'm gonna cover three major sections during that presentation: the comparison trap, so how to stop comparing yourself with others, how toxic it is to compare yourself with others. Then we're gonna talk about outcomes versus effort when it comes to goal setting. So this is a very, very interesting and useful shift that will help you accomplish more and feel good about yourself before you accomplish big things. And last, redefining success. So I want to give you some insight and some tools on how you can redefine success so that it's your own version instead of anyone else's. Does that sound good? Great. The next section is going to be Journal with Patrick. If you've followed me, you know that I do this all the time. So I just want to show you that I've been journaling for almost a year. Just let me grab my books here. There you go. So one, two, three. So I got four journals. Three are complete, back to back, and this is my current journal. So I am using a method that I created called the one page game. It's a really fun thing that turns. It's I like to say that it's a guided journal that turns personal growth into a game, right? A game that you win every day. And I'm going to we're going to do a little bit of journaling together. We're going to see if we can continue, you know, opening cracks and destroying the idea that we are not good enough because. So then I want to introduce a new section, which is book reviews with Patrick. So I want to tell you about a book that I'm reading right now. I'm always reading personal development books, self help, if you will. And later today, I'm going to talk to you about this book called The Presence Process. The author is Michael Brown, and I kid you not, this is probably the top three books on self help that I've ever read. So I will tell you a little bit about my journey. As you can tell, I am roughly close to the end, but it is not as simple as it sounds. So this is book is it's fascinating. So let's start with the presentation. Deal. So like I said, uh, do your best. Bear with me with all the noise that these contractors are making, and if you're really pissed off, leave me a comment, and I will make sure I will do my best to stop this from happening. We'll see. Uh, so how you can be good enough today? So let's start with what I call the comparison trap. I used to torture myself by comparing my life to people who were more successful than me, younger, richer, more confident. I always felt like smaller, more insignificant compared to them. And one day I realized I was playing the wrong game. I, would, I really want to nail this point because it has a lot to do with the rest of the story. So I remember the day I stumbled across this online coach. He was a business coach. He was younger than me. He was doing YouTube coaching, and he was a millionaire. He was teaching people, how to grow a successful YouTube channel, which is something that I actually at the time was very passionate about. And that really hit me hard because I honestly felt irritated. I thought it was like so unfair, and I couldn't stop thinking, why him and not me? Right at the time, I was literally doing that same work, uh, helping YouTube creators grow a successful YouTube channel and monetize their audience. Right. So that's the thing with comparison. The moment you look at someone who's ahead of you, you instantly create something called the forward gap, which is the distance between where you are now and where they are, right, in the far distance. So I heard this specific concept in a Mind Valley lesson by Vishen Lakiani, who I know took this concept from someone else. I just don't remember who it was. And this gap can feel brutal because it makes you feel like you're always behind. It makes you feel like you are losing a race you didn't sign up for. There's another way to look at it. This is also something, this comes along with the same lesson that I learned from Vision Lakiani at Mind Valley. So the reverse gap. So instead of looking forward to see how far you need to go, you can look back to see how far you've come. That little mindset shift makes such a difference in the way you see everything. Here's what I realized. I wasn't the same person that I used to be. I had grown, I had learned, I had built skills and went through so many experiences that shaped me. They shaped me the way I was today. And honestly, I am very happy with who I am today. You could talk about the external outcomes, having a huge following, having a lot of people who love your work, who pay you for your advice. But at the end of the day, I just look back and say, yes, I I can acknowledge everything that I've grown into, and I honestly feel happy with who I am. Like I hope you can too. After this. And so here's what I finally realized about when you are comparing yourself with others, you're not even comparing the same things. Did you ever consider that? Because one day I came to the realization that everyone has advantages and disadvantages. This coach I envied, he had resources, timing, maybe a little bit of luck, things that I didn't have. But what I did have was experiences. perspectives, strengths, a lot of things that I knew he couldn't copy. So it's never fair to make a comparison. It's easier said than done because we are simply too different. That's all there is. You can say that other people maybe are richer than you, but you have a really good family. Maybe other people are, have the perfect body, or they're fit and muscular, or whatever interests you, and you don't, but you are healthier. You are somehow healthier because you don't beat yourself up in the gym. Whatever the case might be, everyone's circumstances are so different. We can't really compare. We can't say sincerely and fairly that other people are better than us just because they're ahead in an area that we care about. You are ahead in an area that you may not be paying attention to. And the last thing is that there are so many people who have a lot of, they have their life together, great health, good family, good career, but they still feel like they're not good enough because this not good enough dilemma affects everybody. It's not that you have to like reach a certain level of success to say, well, yes, I am good enough because all of this is right behind me. That doesn't exist. You will be good enough by making that shift. It's internal, it's not external. The worst part is that comparison is like so dangerous. It doesn't make you just feel behind. It makes you a copy. You're the kind of person who's followed a lot of advice from self-help experts or business experts or any sort of person who simply says, "Okay, I can help you have a better life." Right? It comes down to that at the end of the day. If you've been following and try to emulate and learn from these people, you may not have realized this, but you're making yourself a copy of them. It doesn't mean you should never learn anything from them. What it means is that by seeing their success as your own desired end result, you are making a copy of yourself. You are a copy of them. The strategies, the timelines, the way they are doing things, you're just copying them. That's what I did, at least for the longest time. And I had no idea how wrong that was. And the gurus, at least in the field of like entrepreneurship, startup world, business, they always say model success and you will be successful. But every time I did that, I actually I was losing a little part of myself because the truth is, the more you try to win in someone else's game, the more you forget you already have your own. I knew that was the first crack in this comparison trap. Comparison distorts reality. You're not really behind. You're simply seeing things the wrong way. And if you keep chasing someone else's path, you can waste years fighting battles that were never meant for you. I know. I've been in that situation for 6 years. It took me a really long time to finally walk away. So stick around because you will learn how I did it. That's when I started asking myself too. So when I had this realization about, okay, there are different journeys, there are advantages and disadvantages. I can't really compare myself with others. I said, what else could the experts be wrong about? What if they were wrong about everything? Actually, the thought scared me actually a little, but it was a reality I would soon have to face. Now we need to talk about a really important subject, which is outcomes versus effort for goal setting. So this takes me back to a story when I started running my first free challenges. I thought I had cracked the code. Like this was going to be my breakthrough. That's how I saw it. My way to finally, get clients at scale. So I went all in for 6 weeks. I worked nonstop, building slides, designing exercises, setting up the tech, and promoting on social media. So every single detail was fueled by one belief: if I work hard enough, the results will come. And Launch day came, and some results did come up. Actually, people signed up, people showed up, they participated, but when it came to the moment of presenting the offer, that was the coaching offer, I got silence. Not a single person bought my offer. That crushed me. Not just because I failed, but because I was convinced I had done everything right. I followed the steps, I put in the hours, I modeled the strategy. Still nothing. That's when I realized it was a very scary thought, but somehow it felt like it was bringing me closer to the truth. What if I don't actually control the outcome? Shortly after that, I learned that we don't control the outcome. You can control your effort, but you can't control how people respond. You can control the work, but you can't control the timing or the market or the choices other people make. You can't force them to do what you expect them to do just to fit your goal. And if your definition of success depends only on outcomes, you're setting yourself up for constant disappointment. That's people how the recipe for destroying your self-esteem. I had literally worked 10 years on my personal development. I spent 5 years and thousands of dollars following experts' advice, and this was the result. That realization about outcomes changed everything for me because it forced me to ask, what if success isn't about outcomes at all? What if it's the actions themselves what matter instead of what they get you? That's where I discovered something I now call conditionless actions. Trust me, this concept is so simple, but at the same time, it's so groundbreaking. Conditionless actions. I wanted to hear that word again. Conditionless. These are actions that matter because you do them, not because of what happens after. It's not the outcome. They move you forward without anyone's validation, without needing the proof that they work. For me, the clearest example of a conditionless action is journaling. I did talk about this in other places. Journaling is aligned with my long term goals. These are not numbers, people. I want to become a best selling author. I want to build the best personal development framework for the other 99% of people. And by writing every day, I improve my skills as a writer. I test and iterate a key piece of my framework. I improve myself by uncovering blind spots. This is the journaling practice. I practice gratitude too. And I get a better understanding of my circumstances and myself. And maybe most importantly, my journaling habit is adaptable. It's stress free. It's practical. And it works no matter what. Nobody has to look at me. Nobody has to say this is great. Nobody has to look at a post I made on journaling and say this is awesome. I don't have to sell thousands of copies, maybe not yet. It just works because I do it. It works because it's designed to move me towards my lifetime goals. That's the key to conditionless actions. They build a foundation that lasts. And these people, this is how you get the outcomes. You don't have to choose and force an outcome. You have to build a foundation. Foundations are built through habits, through skill development, through choosing the right actions, by doing something that brings you joy. That's how you will be consistent at it. And these kind of actions, they influence your personal growth. They align with your life objectives and they help you shape who you are becoming. This shift is very powerful. For me, it meant to change, myself from asking, what are the results, right? Where are the numbers? To instead say, what did I do well today? That question is a literal prompt directly taken from a journaling method. That's when growth becomes inevitable because results stop being a measure of your worth. Forget about these outcomes that you don't control. The action itself becomes the win. I want you to remember that one. The action itself becomes a win. When you decide for it, when it's a conditionless action. Now that we are breaking up the ideas of success that society shows us, the social media shows us, that the experts tell us is success. When you think about it, it all comes down to numbers. And that's what changed everything for me. By this point, I had to accept that success isn't about numbers. That reality, sounds great when you're reading like a book on Buddhism, but to have all these experiences that keep pointing towards that message was a very different thing. That's what creates shifts. And hopefully, this talk will create that shift for you. Success is not about the numbers. For years, I measured myself against how many clients I have, how much money I make, what milestones I hit. And when I didn't hit them, I felt like failure. But hitting numbers isn't a measure of your worth. Because these are someone else's achievements. These are people that you look up to. These are people that have it all together. But why make their goals your goals? You are different. That's how you set up yourself for failure at best. At worst, you end up becoming someone who isn't you. It took me a long time to realize this. You can tell by all the stories I've been sharing. Real success isn't about how much you make or how many people love and admire your work. It's not even about how many people you help. If you think it's all about contribution and doing good to the world, one way or another, all these measures are just numbers that you can't simply decide to earn. You can't just say, I'm will make $1 million and just do it. You can't just decide that person will become a client and expect that to happen. You can't just say that person will, let's say in my case, will give me an opportunity to speak on stage. I can't force any of those things. That's why there's no point in blaming yourself when you don't get them. By looking at numbers and success in terms of numbers, you are reducing the complexity of human life into some kind of sport where nothing matters except the final results. So, what would happen? What would happen if you simply walked out? Get yourself out of the court, out of the entire game. Because real success, to me at least, is about building a life that fits you, a life where your daily actions move you closer to your deepest desires. It doesn't matter how impressive your accomplishments may seem. It doesn't matter how fast you get there. That's authenticity to me. That's the reframe that changed everything for me. It took me from asking myself, am I becoming better than others? Better than the rest? Am I the top 1%? Those are the things that I used to care about. But now I ask myself things like, am I living in alignment with what matters most to me? And when you make that shift, comparison dies. Outcomes stop beating you down. You are the one defining success, nobody else. So when you put everything together, this journey that I just took you through is comparing yourself to others, which hurts, then chasing the results of highly successful people to the point where you become a copy of them and everything that they do and how they think. And this is likely to make you feel insignificant because no amount of work and results can compare to those extraordinary people. And then we work harder and become obsessed with the outcomes, thinking that with determination we will finally win. But the outcomes, remember, aren't fully in your control. And that's what makes this cycle never ends. If you are the kind of person who thinks determination will get you there eventually, you might be wrong. Determination is not enough. And what's crazy about this is that determination may not be even what you need. You can, trust me on this one, you can and you will move forward without dramatic, hero style of determination. The way out is through conditionless actions. The things that you do for their own sake, the habits that help you grow, no matter who's watching you try and fail, no matter what the numbers appear to indicate. You combine that with a new definition of success, one that's about living in alignment with yourself. Comparison no longer has a hold on you. You thought you had to beat the game, but in reality, you needed to play a new one entirely. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe because in the next episode, I will keep sharing stories and lessons that help you grow, not from copying anybody, but by building a path that's truly yours. That was our presentation on why you are good enough today. I really hope you've been taking notes. I really hope there's a lot of takeaways and shifts that you can implement. But, hopefully, if I've done my work right, I don't really know that. You should have experienced some sort of shift even before you implement anything. Some people say information is nothing with action, but they are not right. They are wrong, in my opinion. People can experience a shift from a talk. So, like I said, if I did my job right, you should have experienced a shift. And if not, you know, get get your notes into the world and take actions. Implement. Thank you for tuning in. I want to make sure the point landed. We are good enough. We can be good enough today. No one's journeys is our journey. No one's results are the measure of how good we're doing. And at the end of the day, the real goal that we are looking for here is that you become the best version of yourself, the person who eventually will have it all. Just takes a lot of patience and a lot of compassion. Let's get to journal with Patrick. So today I want to talk to you about in today's episode of Journal with Patrick. I want to talk to you about one of my journaling tools, which I call the monthly review. So I am holding it right now. It's not just one page, actually, it's a few more pages. I think it's four. And I do this process every month to hold myself accountable. Interestingly enough, while this tool is not the daily practice, it's the first tool that I ever created. I want to give you a little bit of background. For a long time, I thought that I was starting and quitting so many things, getting distracted, getting off track a little too much. And then one day I told myself, I would love to just hold myself accountable. And it turns out that one of the biggest reasons I was falling off track so much is yes, there are way too many distractions in a normal person's life. There are also way too many distractions on social media. In my case, there was always a new book, always a new tool, always a new system that was going to help me um, grow personally and be successful in business. So distractions for me were difficult, very difficult to deal with. That's when I started thinking about accountability. So what if I had some sort of tool that helped me stay on track. They help me review what I promised myself to do, and then at the end of the month, how far I got with my goals. That was enough. That little practice was enough for me to stay on track. 'Cause once I wrote my objectives for the month, I would look at them on a regular basis and say, okay, well, I am looking at all these distractions, but is that in the benefit of this objective, or it's just another distraction? So that's how it really works and how it should work. I was also thinking about how I could help my clients. To me, that's always, in the back of my head. I want to help myself, but immediately after, I want to see how this will help my clients. And that's how the monthly review was born. And this was the first tool that I started using before I created the one page game, which is the complete journal. Now, I want just to actually go through some of these prompts. Uh, we may not have time for everything, to be honest, but I think it will be most helpful. By the way, in case you're interested, you can ask me for this monthly review. Just drop a comment if you would like to access the form. But today, I want us to go through a few prompts together. So that would be a lot of fun. Also, I want you to know that part of my journaling method includes this tracker, which is really cool. You may be able to see some of it. So you can check off your boxes as you journal every day. Then we have the monthly review form. I'm about to fill this one, to be honest. The month is starting. I think it will be most beneficial for you right now, more than any other time of the month. So let's go through them, right? So I already established, the benefits. We're going to see how far you get with your goals. We're going to see what you learn and how set the tone, for the month. If you haven't done any of that work this October, this is your best chance. The first question is, what are your top 5 accomplishments in the last 30 days? So let's be nice with each other, and I will give you 2 minutes to start writing things. It's fine if you don't get all 5, just get started, okay? We'll set a little timer. This is live coaching, people, so I hope you appreciate it. I love, doing this with my own clients too. Set a little timer, get the work done while we are together. It's like accountability to the top. So, okay, set the timer. In the meantime, I'm just going to think about this too, right? Because it's journaling with Patrick. So why would you just journal by yourself? Let's see some of the accomplishments. So for me, I hope I don't distract you too much, but just stick with me. I mean, we're trying to connect, right? I think one of the biggest accomplishments for me this month is to start live streaming. I've, I've been doing it every Saturday. This is the third episode of You Are Not Broken Live, and I am very pleased. I just really enjoy it here. I think it's really helping me embody my public speaking persona and also really polish my self help or personal development ideas. Another big accomplishment is that I've found a way, a content strategy for me to publish consistently. So I never work on weekends. Like my weekend literally ends after this live stream on Saturday. And I've managed to prepare these live streams and then to clip some parts of it in order to post short form vertical content uh, across different networks, social networks. I have YouTube and Facebook. If you're streaming, you probably are seeing me in one of those two. I have Instagram, I have LinkedIn, and TikTok. So, eventually, these live streams will go to more platforms. At the time, we only have those 3, which is okay. So, and part of my content strategy is to record myself. So, I not only post shorts that are clips from the live, but I also record myself 3 times a week, making a short 1 minute video. I think I really enjoy that as well. More public speaking practice, more nailing my ideas. And in the case of shorts, I think I'm also getting better at it, grabbing people's attention, hooking them in. So it's all benefits. The timer is up. I do hope you managed to write some of your biggest accomplishments, and I also want to give this number like number 5, because so that you narrow it down. I don't want you to just write absolutely everything that you accomplished. In my case, I write one accomplishment per day as part of my journaling practice. So, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to give you an extra tip. By doing that daily, I often fill this form just by looking at my journal. I look at everything that's there, and then I start finding, accomplishments. I choose my top five, and there it is. So it's like a ranking. It's not really too much thinking involved. Speaking of five, let's do prompt number two. I'm going to set another timer, and that is top five lessons that you learned about yourself and your circumstances in the last 30 days. And while we do that, can't believe I didn't do it before. I'm going to go into my journal, all my recent entries, and share a little bit of what I learned. It's 2 minutes. Go. If you need me to repeat the prompt, it's what are the five top lessons you learned about yourself and your circumstances in the last 30 days? Here's a really cool insight. It may not be the top five, but I want to share it. I learned that part of my brand is fighting essentially two things: extreme sacrifice when it comes to accomplishing your goals or getting into positive habits, and what I call proven formulas. That means people who say, just repeat exactly what I did and you will be successful, right? Let's find more insights. This insight was really awesome, and I shared it with my friend, Dr. Debbie, by the way. Uh, I must remember to mention her at the end. Uh, I care about finding universal truths, ideas that cannot be defeated with evidence, because no evidence against it can be found. So this is tied back with the idea of proven formulas, because when I find anything, any sort of flawed thinking, flawed reasoning, I notice. I usually notice, and instead of thinking, well, the expert must know what they're talking about, I say, this is not a universal truth. That means it applies to some people, but it won't apply to everyone. So you gotta be careful there. And my search is for universal truths. Here's another lesson that I think is great. Uh, I can combine the presence process, that's the book I'm reading, with the tiny habits, which is the method that I use to stick to my positive habits. Awesome. All right. Uh, I am very glad that we got to do this work together. There are more prompts in this monthly review. I think it's 7 prompts, but but we made a lot of progress together, don't you think? So don't worry about not finishing the work. Uh, if you want to access the monthly review, just drop me a comment or send me a direct message. If you we are on Facebook, we can definitely send me a direct message. That won't be hard for me to respond to. And yeah, so some of the rest of the form is more about looking into the future, right? So we were looking back by going through your accomplishments and your lessons, but then the rest of the form focuses on the future, what you're going to do next. The next session is book reviews. So welcome to Book Reviews with Patrick. And that's the new segment. And today I want to talk about the presence process. The presence process, called A Journey into Present Moment Awareness. This book is written by Michael Brown, and I honestly think, I'm convinced, this is one of the biggest pieces of personal development I've ever found. And trust me, that is to say a lot for somebody who invested 14 years in studying personal development, self help, whatever you call it. The presence process, I think the title is very prominent. And by that I mean that those two words, one way or another, appear on every page of the book. That's how well done and integrated this framework is. And the whole objective, basically the thesis maybe of this book, is that the root of all our problems, physical, mental, emotional, life circumstances that make us suffer, is the fact that we are not living in the present moment. He has a very, very useful definition of the present. And he basically says that when you are not living in the present, you are living in time. According to this framework, time is a perception that created by our mental body. The mental body is basically your ego, is basically your mind. When it's ignoring, you know, other things that we don't see all the time, like being connected with other human beings, like the fact that we are one in the universe, and also our emotional intelligence. He doesn't even use those words like emotional intelligence, but just to get the gist. So when we are present, I am talking to you on camera, right? Maybe I am noticing that I have contractors on top of me doing work, which is really annoying. Maybe I'm also noticing that I have certain clothes on. Notice everything. I'm also noticing if I had a person in front of me, I would notice that they are happy or they're sad or they're angry, right? So presence has a lot to do with noticing everything. That's not the only thing though. When we live in time, as the author says, we are let our mind think, be bothered by the past, our mistakes, things that we didn't like that we did, things that were done to us. That includes also mistakes, it includes failures, it includes trauma, it includes painful circumstances. Something in our head is making those memories come back all the time. And when that happens, we'll start looking at the past and not the present, right? We are absent in the present. Another problem of living in time is that we are thinking about the future. We're thinking about what am I going to cook tonight? We're thinking about what do I need for Saturday? We're thinking about what am I going to do to accomplish this? Oh, you know what? 5 years from now, I want to be on the world's biggest stage. I am thinking about that. I'm not going to lie. So, but that is the mind going into the future. And then the present is like something that is not really there, right? The present is everything because present is what's real. The past is something that's gone. Doesn't mean it's irrelevant. It just means that you're not living it. And the future, the same. The future is something that hasn't happened yet. So, and according to this framework, if you manage, for the most part, we're humans, we're very, very, very flawed, but for the most part, if you take the time to do the work in the book, you will get all the tools, all the habits. You're going to become more present. And by becoming more present, you will potentially eliminate so many problems that you have. At the same time, at least in my view, this book seems to be heavily influenced by Buddhist like ideas. And I say Buddhist like because they're not necessarily Buddhist, but you have to embrace certain concepts like, being in the present, accepting what's good and bad in your life, not resisting, right? Being in the present as in paying attention instead of being distracted, being in the present as in experiencing physical pain and try not to fix it right away with drugs or with distraction or with any other sort of like numbing behavior. Like, to me, like, if you go through this book, if you get it and you go through it, you will find I kid you not, you will find most of your preconceptions challenged. I don't want to give you a clear, grand opinion on how hard this is going to be for you, because part of the a big principle of the process is that it will be different for every single person. You will follow similar routines, but as far as your experience, it will be completely unique. That probably ties, with what I was talking about in some other places, that everyone's journey is unique, and that is true. Um, The book also proposes that we move into authenticity, that we say what we mean and we mean what we say, that we don't repress our emotions. So this is the last point that I want to bring before I give you, what I consider my review to be, and that is the idea of integrating your emotional charge. So, in the context of this book, every human being has emotional charges. That means that you have emotions that you that came from experiences in your past that you haven't dealt with. And trust me, you may think you've done a lot of work on yourself, but try this out because it's so different to everything you've seen before. We are we have all these emotions that we haven't dealt with. We at some point in our lives we experience such things as anger, frustration, sadness, desperation, fear, shame, so many things that we didn't allow ourselves to feel at the time for whatever reason, because it was uncomfortable, because it's not what your family or peers expected. You simply decided to repress and ignore those emotions, leave them there. There is absolute no judgment in this. Our culture tells us not to show our feelings, so it's perfectly normal for you to have a lot of suppressed, emotions and memories, and that's the way forward. That's how you liberate yourself. At the moment, I am going through week 4. There's a very long introduction that sets you up in how to approach the process itself, and then you have the actual 10 weeks process where you will have daily practices and tools that are going to help you, in short, achieve presence, right? So as far as this book goes, I've experienced very severe transformation. This book, this is a process that I could do on a regular basis, and by that I mean that, every other year I go back to this book, pick it up again, because sometimes the way I see it is the way I've experienced it is that I want to clear, mm, integrate my emotions again. Clear the emotional baggage that I carry, and at least in my perspective, we create emotional baggage constantly. So if a year goes by after I do the process, I often find myself wanting to do it again. So the first time I did the presence process was in 2018, and I remember it was so mind blowing. I remember finding so many ideas that were the complete opposite of what I was doing, the complete opposite of what I was learning. Even in terms of self help, self improvement, this book still challenges most ideas. And I remember I, you know, faced a lot of, past uh, difficulties and past pain that continued, to affect my current life. I remember letting a lot of things go, and at the end of the whole thing, I felt like I had become a different person. I was more confident, I was more present. I felt like I wasn't triggered so easily like I used to, and in so many ways, ironically, I felt like I was in more control of my life. Yes, I could control my reactions. I could, treat people better. I could have less fear about everything. So these are just some of the benefits that, like I said, they are my experience. They may not be yours, but I just want you to see the potential of this process. So if you were to ask me, this is not like a big show, or this is not like the New York Times books review, but if I was to give this book a review, it would be 5 out of 5. It's more than just the ideas and the concepts. Is that the book itself is a transformation. So somewhere else I said that a talk can create a shift in someone even if they don't implement anything right away. That is the case to me of the book The Presence Process. You could read the whole thing, you may not do the work, but you will still experience some sort of shift. So if you care about your self improvement journey, which you should, so you're here, I highly recommend the Presence book. I have zero ties to maybe benefiting from this. So I'm not an affiliate. I'm not selling this to you. You could get it from the library too. I just want you to know that I really love this book. So if you trust me, know that this is a fantastic book. Thank you. All right, let's close up this session with Evolve Global 22. Like I said a few weeks ago, I joined my former client and friend, Dr. Debbie Badawi. She developed something called the Power of Three, and she's a healer, but she's also an Ayurveda doctor, and she's also an expert in um, herbal and oils medicine. So, Evolve Global 22 is a new initiative. This is a company. We are sort of starting together. I am a major partner in it. And the mission is to restore wholeness through soul rooted and evidence informed healing, guiding individuals to awaken their natural power, to heal, to thrive, and evolve using the power of three: energy medicine, Ayurveda, and herbal medicine. The vision is to lead a global movement that redefines wellness by blending ancient healing, conscious living, and spiritual alignment. That sounds familiar. So people don't just survive, they actually evolve into their most authentic and empowered selves. So my role in this company, I took the role of intuitive self-improvement and business strategist. So I am heavily leaning towards self-improvement, uh, helping clients implement. That's one of my biggest specialties. And a lot of the other work will be, Dr. Badawi's frameworks. So implementation, self-worth, feeling like you're good enough today, consistency. That will be many of the things that I will help people do. And this is more than healing. This is about stepping into authenticity. This is why we share this mission with Debbie Badawi. And I will also be the person in the business side of things. So I will be heavily involved in developing offers, uh, frameworks, deliver workshops, uh, info sessions, and those type of things. Doing outreach, speaking to people who will benefit from this work. Um, this is because the mission is really big. We have individual benefits. Eventually, we'll be launching workshops and life coaching, and at the same time, we're also going to offer corporate services. So if you're a school, if you are a company, if you're a nonprofit organization, we can also bring you know these soul based solutions to your organization. We're trying to transform companies, nonprofits, corporations in general, schools. Education is major reform. So if you have an influence in your school, if you're a principal, if you know are in the sector of education, if you hold public office, you can also get in touch with Debbie or me. And yeah, this is a her really ambitious project. I think this is a lot bigger than my individual project, which is the Brave Advantage. But we're looking forward to see these flourish. um, Dr. Debbie created some gift boxes which are really awesome, and I'm going to just drop this link in the chat so you can visit Evolve Global 22. You will see, I will just let you navigate the site. I'm not really pushing you towards getting a gift box specifically, or request coaching, or some sort of workshop for your organization. Just go to the website, get the gist, learn about their work, and get in touch. So that's the link there. It turns out that it looks like it can't go to Facebook, but it was published on YouTube. It really doesn't matter. It's too much, the tech stuff. So just the URL is evolve global 22 usa.com. And last, I am going live with Dr. Debbie this week. So I believe our tentative date was October 11th, October 10th. I will confirm that. I will update everybody on my socials. But yet, Dr. Debbie and I are doing the official announcement, the official launch of Evolve Global 22, and you can learn a whole lot more about it. Dr. Debbie and me and our mission. So I am very pleased that you came to today's live stream. Remember, you're not broken. You can feel good enough today, and save this video because there is so much useful information. Thank you for journaling with me. Thank you for listening to my book review, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.